Hello everybody, my name is James Everett of The Good, The Meh, and The Ugly, and this is my spoiler-free review of Argylle. This movie is about a reclusive author named Ellie Conway who writes spy novels, and when the events of her books get a little too real, a evil spy syndicate grabs her to write the 5th chapter of her book. My overall thoughts of the movie is it's a mixed positive. There's some great things, there's some pretty bad things, and there's some meh moments in the middle. And I think overall, it has this great build-up in the first 2 acts, and then in the 3rd act, it just trails off and feels like it's going nowhere and gets a little messy at moments. But now, here is the good. What I liked about the movie, or I was pleasantly surprised by. The cast does a great job. Sam Rockwell is great in the movie. Bryce Dallas Howard is fun. Sam Jackson, you can tell he's having a great time. Henry Cavill, who is in the movie a ton, he still just has some great moments. Bryan Cranston has this really crazy, chaotic energy, which this villain needs. And this movie has just this crazy kind of vibe, and this cast really works well with that. They do a great job with this kind of weird, wacky premise and still have room for the emotional moments that they can carry well. But it's just a great cast. You can tell they're having fun, which is important for this kind of movie. If you could tell they're not having fun, it would be very clear. But it's pretty evident that it seems like they're having a good time. And the tone of the movie works really well. It lets you breathe in the emotional moments, but still overall has this crazy, silly, goofy, wacky tone, which I think it really needed. Now I'm moving on to the meh. What I was indifferent to or I didn't really like. The overall story is a little all over the place. It gets pretty messy at times, and the nature of this movie is that it keeps adding on twists, but every now and then it feels like it's just building up to nowhere, which in some instances it does build up to nowhere. In some instances it just doesn't. So overall I think it was pretty messy. The overall story went way too long and feels a little crazy, which the movie is supposed to feel crazy, but at moments it feels a little too crazy. And the action scenes are pretty hit or miss. There are some great ones, there's some okay ones, and there's some ones right in the middle. And for a movie that's built around the action scenes, you want all of them to be pretty great. But some of them, they're great, especially when involving a train, and it just works really well for some of the action scenes. And you can tell that they really try this kind of crazy choreography, some great action shots, but sometimes it really feels like it's way too goofy, way too silly, especially when involving ice skating. Now I'm moving on to The Ugly, what I did not like or I was pretty disappointed by. The runtime of this movie is 2 hours and 21 minutes. That is almost 2.5 hours, basically. And you feel that it's almost 2.5 hours. It just keeps going on and on and on, and it feels super drawn out. By the end of the movie, it feels like it just keeps adding on conflict and conflict and conflict that it doesn't really need to be there. I would accept an hour 45. I would even accept 2 hours, but almost 2.5 hours is way too long. And the 3rd act also, which I mentioned before, really does not work for me. It has a ton of action scenes, but I don't know if they all really work well. It just keeps adding on conflict that you know is going to be solved, whereas something in like the Kingsman movies, and another Matthew Vaughn film, if a character gets hurt or dies, you're like, oh no, they're dead. In this one, you're like, oh, they're going to pop up in like 2 minutes, which in some cases they do, some cases they don't. Which you want to worry for the characters, but it just doesn't earn that, you know. The movie, overall, again, mixed positive, some great aspects, some not so great aspects. I would give it a 5 out of 10. Thank you for watching another episode of The Good, The Meh, and The Ugly, and bye-bye.